Hello, everyone. I was just checking to make sure that I'm unmuted. Ah, that's become one of those things that can you hear me? Can you hear me? You're muted, you're unmuted, all the things we would not be hearing years ago, but the new lexicon. So what was occurring to me today that love scoops. I'd like you to just reach out. Well, actually, first, just see what's your emotional, physical, spiritual state. You can go like stress or no stress or liveliness and not so lively. So, well, I'd like you to just take a baseline so that you can get a sense of the impact of the practices that we'll be playing with today. So just get to know just how it is, like giving you a sense of like, oh, how are you? And just notice what your body says. Well, like, oh, celebrating this, but ooh, this. And so just letting yourself listen for a moment. And then I'd like you to let yourself go ahead and reach out and pull in love, well-being, presence, anything that would refresh you, would renew you, and letting your body tell you where you want to have that. And as you're reaching out, I'd like you to just notice that you take your body a little off balance and then you come back to center. And so if you're just using your arms, you don't. So I want you to move enough that you can feel your torso moving. Yeah. And you let it come all the way in and then connect with you. Let yourself connect. Because it occurs to me that love scoops are declaring, I want to be here. I'm including myself. So I'd like you to try on some of these sentences as you're doing this. I belong. I belong here. I'm including me. That one, I just paused for a minute because there are so many times in my younger life where I would wait to be included and then I would feel bad if I weren't included. And I just didn't even realize the door of I could include myself. So this is, I think, when people are in faint, which the love scoop is the fear melter for, when people are in faint, they don't have any agency. They go passive and just kind of wait for life to happen. And one of the impacts of love scoops is that it's kind of like it's a love water pump. So you're pumping more circulation of love through you and circulation of well-being, but also of I'm here. I'm here. I want to be here. I want to be included. And so after doing that for a little bit, I'd like you to just check your overall well-being and see if there's been any shift in your sense of aliveness or of being here. I feel more circulation in my fingers, for one thing, and I'm aware, I kind of have a whole body awareness of myself and sort of instead of just in little chunks. And so let yourself notice that, see, love scoops, instead of, the early in life, for the first 6 months or so, at least the first 3 or 4 months, we need to wait for people to come and attend to us. And the ways of communicating are with sounds and, and wiggles and, and baby sign language, if you were lucky enough to learn that when you were little. It's a great new addition. But when you get a little bit older, the first sign of I'm here in the world and I'm adding to the world is when you reach out. So reaching out and bringing things into the mouth, reaching out, and then that turns into crawling, and then that turns into walking and reaching toward what you want in life. And so the love scoops can remind your body, especially if you're, feeling more and, you've had things that you've gone into faint, if you've gone into any kind of fear, but especially faint where you feel overwhelmed or, it's just all too much, or you feel that this love scoops actually begins to remind your body that you have agency, that you can choose, that you can include yourself. And I think that's so powerful. And then when we forget that, when you forget, or I forget, we forget, we're unconscious. But the moment you become aware, the actual reaching out, like, what would I really like? I'd like some lightness. Okay. Oh, yes. You can bring in qualities to yourself of love, or of caring. And if you give that to yourself, you're much more, I think, available for people to give to you, because you're like, here you are, instead of, and you're not, if you're not here, that's hard for people to see you or to relate to you. So love scoops really bring you here. And that's one thing I just really love about them. And the other thing that was occurring to me with regard to loop of awareness, which is basically being able to shift your attention by choice, and being able to use all of these different aspects of attention by choice. So giving really focused attention, giving soft, loving attention, giving all kinds of attention to yourself and to the world is the basic practice of loop of awareness. But what occurred to me is that it's a great, what scientists call pattern interrupt. It's a great pattern interrupt, because we all get stuck in patterns of attention. Particularly I was remembering, the movie Up from years ago, Squirrel, where something distracts us, and our world is filled with distractions right now, and like bigger and bigger distractions so that they can capture our eyeballs. So your loop of awareness can refresh. It's like refreshing your visual screen, but also refreshing your energetic screen. And the pattern interrupt allows you to then use your attention just much more by choice, and to choose the timing, the pace of it, the rhythm. So combining those two things, I thought would be a vibrant practice for us all this week. And especially as we're, here in the States, we're in our place of constant elections. We're coming to the climax of the last 4 years of constant elections. So it's very buzzy around here, and, lots of things trying to grab. And so shifting your attention also allows you to notice and to feel, oh, I'm in charge of my own attention. I can choose where I put my attention. And it's one thing to say that to yourself, but unless you engage your body, your mind is going to default to the old programs. It's going to default to, oh, I have to work really hard to get attention, or there's not enough for me, or whatever the program is. And then when you really shift your attention, it breaks that up. And pattern interrupt, I think, is one of the most powerful transformational tools that we can use throughout life. It's interrupting familiar patterns. And so that was what came to me today. So I was very happy about that. So how about I also then show you the card for today, or Michelle will show you the card for today, and you can practice tossing your attention to the card and seeing what you land on and what you notice, and then bringing your attention back to you and noticing where you are receiving the picture of this card and what comes out to you and what you don't quite see. And I'm noticing that there are all kinds of cool little things in here. So if I'm just using my attention broadly, I get sort of a sense of the landscape. But when I let my attention really focus in, there's some little treats there if you let yourself really go into the card there and the collage. And I find that also with my environment. If I'm just doing a sweep and I just kind of look at it very broadly, I get a certain impact. But when I let myself really land and go in, and then bring my attention back to how I am experiencing that, I get a much richer opening to what I might receive from the card. So I'd love you to keep just shifting your attention, landing, noticing, and then shifting. And I'm going to read this to you. We've got the sentence, which I'll read a couple of times, and then the question. I commit to reveal and not conceal by expressing my authentic experiences, even under duress. That's a very big sentence. So I'm going to say it again. You might notice, like I noticed, I wanted to take a breath in between there. I commit to reveal and not conceal by expressing my authentic experiences, even under duress. And the question is, how freely can I choose revealing over concealing, which activates a different part of our brain? How freely can I choose revealing over concealing? So let me come back to the first sentence again, come back to the group. So I commit to reveal and not conceal by expressing my authentic experiences. So there's three things here. I commit to reveal instead of conceal. That in my life was the most important commitment that I made when Gay and I got together, was I commit to reveal rather than conceal. And if I were to edit this, I would say to reveal rather than conceal. So I'm rather than not conceal, because I'm going to conceal or you're going to conceal. And so if I say I'm not going to do that, then I'm immediately going to bust that particular intention. But when I recommit, so I want you to write that down, recommit, I recommit to revealing rather than concealing, because the world right now is structured on concealing. Society is structured around concealing. It's structured around secrets. It's structured around don't say this to this person and don't do this, and you keep things close to your chest and you can't trust people. And we really know, I mean, Freud first said it, people asked him what he had learned in his 75 years of work. And he said, secrets make you sick. Secrets make you sick. And so if we look at what's going on, there's so many levels at which society is sick, people are sick. And I think a lot of that comes from the act of concealing, because humans are meant to reveal. And as you're practicing loop of awareness, you can get really a sense of that human beings experience and then they're meant to express. And so if you hold that back, you literally kink the hose, clog the pipes, and keep yourself from experiencing as much joy, and aliveness and participation as you could. So this one, in my learning, because I had a lot of lessons growing up in the Midwest. From 2 to 12, I lived in the Midwest, Kansas and Indiana and Michigan. So heart of the breadbasket. And one of the ethics was, shh, don't say that. You can't say that. And so I naturally, just like all kids before they get educated, I would just express what was going on. Like, hey, why is Mrs. Brown so mad all the time? And mother go, oh, you can't possibly say that, and you'll offend her. And so we learn to conceal. So it takes courage to step into something that's so against society. So my sense also is that when you're reaching out and saying, I want to be here, that also is an act of courage. So rather than tucking and waiting and playing safe, you're opening up and saying, I want to be here, I want to play. And that may evoke fear. And so that's why we play with the fear melters in conjunction with what you really want. And recommitting to revealing, I probably recommitted to that 400 or 500 times before it really became choiceless. So the idea is that these various integrity moves, which align you with life and allow you to experience more ease and flow, they take practice and recommitment. And so I'm really wanting you to, instead of beating yourself up, which is which is what would be encouraged, is that you simply recommit. Just simply recommit. And how freely can I choose revealing over concealing? I love that. How freely. So like, oh, I have to, or that would be the thing to do, or in order for my spiritual development, I've got to do this. But how freely can I choose revealing? And I'll tell you, I think that revealing and authenticity, I often come back to it as the primary skill out of which everything else happens. So even presence, which I used to think of as the primary. But if I choose authenticity, I grow my own presence. I invite others to presence with me. And I find that just so incredibly valuable. First, I get to enjoy life more. And then others get to experience me enjoying life more and the ripple of that and their possibility of enjoying life more. And then we circulate more authenticity. To me, there's nothing more attractive and fabulous than a person expressing their authentic self. When somebody just, blurts something that they're actually experiencing and everybody can feel that, whew, that's also a pattern interrupt for the kind of, don't say anything that might disturb anything, don't rock the boat that goes on. And I think our job right now, our basic job is to rock the boat, while creating different ways of being safe, because we've created safety by contracting. Let's create safety by expanding and being authentic and invite others to be authentic. To me, that is the real juice of life, is authenticity being expressed. And I just treasure that when somebody has the courage to just say what is so for them. The other thing that I find is that when I say what is so, then the next step occurs. And I've had that happen so many times, just even with kind of what you might think of as stupid things like, boy, this necklace is really tangled. And then it suddenly becomes untangled. And I think, oh no, that can't possibly be happened. But I think authenticity creates magic. And so I invite you to let yourself experiment with that. So I also then want to today play with our Presence Connect play. And for those of you who are not familiar with the app or have not looked at it recently, we have a whole website now that is attached to the Presence Connect play, which gives you more information, videos, how to use it, so it just gives you a deeper and richer experience of each of them. So today, presence is a very simple but very powerful move, which is find your feet. So right now, find your feet. And I've often shared, like I would share this before with people. I'd say, go ahead and find your feet. And people would go, they would look from outside themselves to find their feet. And so what I want to invite you to do is to find your feet from inside. Find your feet by feeling your feet. Feel find feet of. And when I do that, my feet kind of go do a little tap dance on the floor. And when I do that, I find my base. I find an out breath. Here I am. And presencing is also something that we can recommit to over and over again and grow our ability to presence in all kinds of situations. And connect is another simple but incredibly powerful move, which is turning toward. So I'd love to have you first turn toward. How can you turn toward your insides? How can you use your body, your posture, your breath, to your attention to turn toward yourself? So I find that for me, turning toward myself is an opening process. So I notice any places where I might be in a cringe or in a fold or in a collapse, and then and I might give myself love scoops or feeling, okay, just give some attention here, and then turning toward what's next, and then turning toward outside. And when I'm turning toward outside, I notice that I get my body and my attention lined up. So often in life, in the places I've gotten into trouble, where my actions and my attention are not aligned, and I can trip. I drop things. Just in the physical world, when I turn toward, I'm much more able to connect with what's there, whether it's another person who might want something, or who might want to connect with me, or it's connecting with something that I want to accomplish in the world. So turning toward, I find, is like it's a whole symphony. I think, well, I've turned toward. No, turning toward is can be a number of steps of opening my breath, settling, presencing again, noticing, shifting my attention back and forth, noticing any place I might be turning away, and the subtleties of no, not when it not, it's a facing. It has to do with our FACT, facing, accepting, choosing, and taking action. So facing is really turning toward. And the more I can do that with attention to myself and attention to the environment, I think the richer that process becomes. And then it just becomes part of my daily activities. I'm turning toward this, and then I'm turning toward this, because this is what's happening right here. Instead of turning toward and then looking for what's next, that's a great way to literally trip yourself up. And so our continuous presencing, if I'm turning toward the next moment and the next moment and the next moment. And then play is let your attention fan out and then focus like a laser, a razor. That was Freudian slip. Let your attention fan out and then focus. So fanning out to the whole group, and then maybe focusing on a person that you want to give some love and attention to, and then fanning out to you. How can you let your attention fan out in you, and then focus like a laser, like giving attention to a certain place in you? Like I've been unwinding a place in my left sacrum for a long time, and my left sacrum just said, hey, look, we're doing so great. And just this tiny little thing over here at the corner. So I gave my laser attention, just like giving a little noogie, giving a little, I'm with you, I see you, I'm here, attention to that part. And then you can knowing how to fan out and then focus. Now just think of how that can assist you in driving, in being out in the world. So fanning, you get to see what's going on in the peripheries, and then focusing about where you're going or where you want to move to next. So it not only has metaphysical properties and value, but it also has very practical benefit as you're learning, particularly fanning and focusing. And I invite you to do that the next time that you're in a meeting or a presentation with people, so that fanning out to inside you, like how am I receiving that? And then focusing on maybe a question that you have, fanning out to the group, and then noticing that somebody has a question. So for me, loop of awareness and with fanning and focusing is what really allows me to follow the group, because I'm not presenting to them, I'm following what's coming up. And fanning and focusing is fabulous for improving your skill in that area. So, well, I just had a lot to share with you this morning. Thank you for being with me in that. So all of that came out of, I had a bing come up in my meditation last night, just as I was about to go to bed, and then letting myself practice what I'm sharing with you while I'm doing it was what created the flow. So that's what we can all look forward to, is being in the flow of letting life move through us. And to me, that's the big fun. So thanks for sharing in the big fun. And I look forward to seeing you next time. And please stay and share as long as you'd like. Mwah! Thank you. Big hearts to you also. Bye now.